Welcome to Good Morning Akron, everyone. I'm your host, Sarah, and today I get to talk with Michael Jude Schauer. Michael, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. And Michael is a local author, and I want you to just tell our audience a little bit about yourself before we get into the books.
Okay. Well, first of all, I probably have enjoyed wordplay and things like that ever since I was young. And I can remember the time when I was in second grade, and I was given an assignment to write a poem. And the teacher, a very strict nun,
Okay, Catholic school.
Catholic school,
Yep.
she said, your assignment is to write a poem tonight, and it has to rhyme. She said, it must rhyme, and she made us repeat that.
Okay.
She said, what does it have to do, children? It
Has to rhyme.
So we went home, and I was kind of an independent child, and I went home, told my mother the assignment. She said, well, you better get busy and make sure it rhymes. So I wrote the poem, and I'll just tell you what it is. It's real short.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's called Horses.
I love that you know it.
Oh, I know. Oh, it's in my brain. It's called Horses. Horses are brown, black, and red. Some are alive and some are dead. Horses run and horses walk. Horses don't know how to talk. They eat corn and they eat hay. People ride them in the month of June. So I inserted June in there because of my stubborn streak.
Right.
And my mother didn't review it. We had 6 kids running around the house. She said, did you finish your assignment? Yes, I did.
I can
So I went to
understand.
school the next day. She called me up to repeat it, recite it, and I took the paper out of my pocket and read it. And of course, I got in trouble from her. Then note home to mom. I didn't follow the directions and so forth.
You followed directions for most of it.
I thought it was actually a pretty good poem. But anyway, that was the first time that I realized that I loved how words could be
Right.
used and everything. As far as the imagination part, my grandfather was probably a big influence because he used to tell stories, and they were the kind of stories you didn't realize if he was telling the truth or not. That kind of a
Right. You're like,
old-timer.
did that really happen? Are
Right,
are you embellishing this?
Exactly. I walked into his workshop. He was a woodworker one time, and he had a moose head on his wall, a real moose head.
Okay.
And he had his hat hanging on it. And I said, why is that moose wearing a hat? So that just then on
There was a
extemporaneously,
whole
he
story.
would just come with this whole story about how he was hunting, and the wind was blowing so hard that it blew his hat off. 3 days later, he was traipsing through the snow, and he saw the moose down by the river, and he was wearing his hat. Telling a little kid this,
Right.
I guess he didn't realize that kids are going to remember those
And
things.
they're going to repeat it
believe
to
them
other
also.
people. And
So storytelling has always been really, really important to me. And when I taught for 30 years in Revere. And by the way, I want to say hi to all the hardworking teachers in
Yes.
Revere, at Bath School, and Richfield School.
Okay.
Especially.
I love that.
So they would always ask me to tell them stories. So I would tell them stories about things that really happened to me, like the time I snapped my 4th grade teacher in the backside with a wet towel. I could go into depths about that, but I won't today for time.
Yeah, but you wrote it
but
all down.
I did, because there was a mother who said, my child comes home every night and repeats the stories that you tell in the classroom. You should write them down. So I did. So I'll make that available to any past student that, might be listening.
Yeah, I
And
love
if they
that.
want to have a copy of this, to email me. And
Okay.
I'll give you that at the end.
Great.
And I'll send it to them so they
That's-
can have
That's so
those
special.
memories.
I love
Yeah.
that. And it's so amazing what they soak up. So I was sharing with you that I have a 3rd grader, and lately her teacher has been doing just interesting facts. And every day she comes home with, Mom, did you know? And she gives me the interesting facts that she
Right.
learned that day. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure that your 3rd graders,
Oh, they
they
absorb
soaked this
everything.
stuff up, and they were like,
Yeah.
did you know that my teacher, and comes home
Exactly.
and does that. So
But there's probably 12 stories in here that I used to tell them, and they just laugh and.
I love that so
appreciate
much.
them,
So
stuff, and
yes,
act them out
we'll
and
share your information at the end, and
Okay.
if any students want to reach out to you, we'll
Right.
make that available. So let's move on to the Lost
Sure.
Hamsters of Barnaby bunch. Let's share. How did you come up with this idea? Let's share that first.
Well, actually, it started with my father. He used to entertain and tell us stories and everything all the time. And he started with, he used to tell the six of us, the six kids, about a 500-pound canary. And he would always say, well, what sound does a 500-pound canary make? And we knew what he was going to say because he did it all the time. But we would just wait for it. And he would turn his back, and then he would turn around, and he would emit this most horrendous, horrible, loud chirp that you can think.
Oh
deep
my gosh!
voice.
Yes.
And we would just laugh our heads off. And so I would do that in the classroom every now and then. And then they would just wait for it and everything. And so one of the characters in there is a 500-pound canary. His name's Puffuto. It's an Italian word for chubby.
Okay.
And he can't sing. He's a canary that can't sing with the rest of the canaries. And so this whole story is not just based, that's mostly the second part of the story.
Okay.
The first part of the story is, it's all an allegory. It was published by Christian Faith Publishers. It's an allegory of redemption, hope, forgiveness, and there's all these themes that run through the whole book. It's animals versus animals, an evil wolf versus a band of very heroic hamsters.
Heroic hamsters.
Oh yeah. You
Are
can
they
see
also
on the
500
cover.
pounds?
No, no,
I'm
these
joking.
are just a normal size
Normal
hamsters.
size hamsters,
Yeah.
yes.
But it is leveled in such a way that adults can get a lot out of it, but also children, I would say anywhere from ages, if they're a high reader, 8,
Okay.
or it could be a read aloud,
Right,
like
absolutely.
a shared reading with a child.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying it, it reminds me a lot of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe-esque. What a beautiful story, also allegory as well, story of redemption. And
Right, and those are some of my influences.
yeah, I was
would
just going to say, were
C.S.
you
Lewis,
inspired
George
by
MacDonald,
those stories? Yeah.
A.A. Milne, you know, the Winnie the Pooh series.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
Just the personification of animals is really what intrigues me.
Absolutely.
How they think, how they can reason, how they can, you know, work together, you know, for a common goal and so forth.
All right. So I want you to give some words of wisdom to a young author, someone who is watching this, or maybe their parent is watching this and they have a young child who is interested in writing. Let's give them some words of wisdom about writing, about stories. What would you recommend to them?
Well, what I used to tell my kids in class all the time was everybody has a story, and it doesn't have to be the funniest or the most profound,
Right.
but write it down. Just write it down and write it for you.
Yes, that's beautiful.
And don't worry about, you know, am I going to be able to sell a book, or am I going to be able to, you know, expand this in you know, other ways? Just that. Just write it for you, and it comes. And also take your time with it. Don't worry about, you know, I want to get this done. Everybody wants things done right away, and this took 2 years to write,
Right.
and then
you want to do a good job on it.
right,
Yeah.
and then a whole nother year to get published and everything. So this book is part 1 and part 2,
Okay.
and I'm writing part 3 and part 4 right now, so that it goes on.
Okay, I
So-
love that. So when we're done, we can expect more to the story.
Oh yeah,
That's really
I
beautiful.
leave it open at the end.
So Michael, share with people how they can find this book, and then how they can contact you, especially if we have, let's go ahead and hold this one up too.
It's Cautionary
Tales of a Third Grade Teacher. So this one specifically, as we mentioned before, is for your former students if they want to
Right.
hear those stories.
This is not published, but I can get that to the students if they want them. And I have students that are 40 now, so 40 and 41, 42. So they're
So
around
great.
there. They're out there doing amazing things, and but they still remember.
Right.
You know, when I
They
do
still wanna
come in
remember the
contact
stories.
with them, they remember stories from third
Yeah.
grade.
All right. How can
But,
people get this book?
This
The
book
Lost
you can get
Hamsters?
on Amazon.com.
Perfect.
And it's under Michael Jude Schauer, or you could go by the title, The Lost Hamsters of Barnaby Bunch. You can also get it on at Barnes & Noble.
Wonderful.
And BAM, which is Books A Million.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other outlets you can get it at, but those are the three
Great.
main.
And how
Right.
can people find you if
They
they
can
want to
find-
get in touch with you?
They can find me at my Instagram,
Wonderful.
which is Michael Schauer 156.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Great. And they can get in touch with you about your books. I love that so much. All right. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Michael,
you.
for being on the show.
Thank you for having
I'm
me.
actually really looking forward to reading that. I know actually my 11-year-old, I think, will really enjoy this as well. She loves that
think
kind of
she will.
allegory. So. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching today. We had a great morning on Good Morning Akron. Make sure you stay tuned. We've got more great stuff coming up next.